is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Of course, we are live, large, and in charge, and we have a lot to boast about as South Africans, especially when it comes to our tourist destinations. And now we can add the biggest dinosaur fossil graveyard in the world to that list. So the graveyard was discovered in a rural part of the Eastern Cape by a shepherd, believe it or not. And since the initial discovery, experts from around the world have visited the area and have been led by Professor Jonah Chionier of the Evolutionary Studies Institute at the Wits University. And now the professor joins us now to tell us more about this exciting find. Jonah, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome, man. I'm like getting a little nostalgic feeling of being a kid again, discovering dinosaur bones. But I got to ask you, how is the excavation work going?
Well, as you might expect, it's been a bit slow this year. But we've been working hard in the lab rather than in the field. And we've got two new species probably ready to be studied.
Oh, nice. Exciting stuff. So, listen, the fossils were found in a rural part of the Eastern Cape, I believe, and also by a shepherd. So, can you tell me more about how it was actually found and exactly how did you get involved in this?
Well, the shepherd's name is Dumangwe Tayabeka, and he literally lives at the bottom of the dinosaur site. So every day on his walk out to the veld, he would walk by the spot, and one day he bent down and said, "These bones they're not cows, they're too big." And it actually was because of passionate people in the village taking those bones to the local educator's house, to the local preacher's house, and in super, super complicated way, they landed on my desk at Wits. And I said, "Holy smokes, these are dinosaur bones, and this is really interesting." So we went and visited them, and well, the rest is history.
Wow, history indeed. I like that pun there. So listen, man. So from the research and analysis that you've already done, it seems to be that I understand that the dinosaurs were primarily herbivores, if I understand correctly. So can you tell me more about what you've actually been able to learn from just these bones alone?
Well, so far we've taken out two skeletons of dinosaurs, and each one of those is an animal that's bigger than a rhino. And those ones we know are herbivores. They're part of the group that includes the long necks, as people call them, tiny head, long neck, big fat body, and all those guys eat plants. But we've got a couple pieces of bone that are just coming out in the lab now, and those things we're sure are meat eaters. So when we finally prepare those fossils, we're pretty sure we're going to have both the sort of prey and the predators.
Wow, that is exciting stuff. So you've got herbivores and you've got carnivores potentially. So this would mean that there's obviously more than one fossil in this area. And then again, I would imagine there's quite a few. So what are you expecting to find in the entire area? Would you imagine this to be like a potential watering hole where there's a lot more dinosaurs, or maybe just one or two?
It's going to be 5 or 10 more years of work just to excavate what we know is already there. So, I mean, we've got hundreds of fossils. And it looks like an area where there was a bend in a river and animals were coming down to drink, and well, occasionally they're sick, they die, and they get washed over with mud. So we're hoping that lots and lots of animals lived in the area, and as we continue to work that area, we'll find more and more things that had died 200 million years ago and were covered and only coming to the surface now.
Wow, 5 to 10 more years of discovery. That must be so exciting. But I believe you've also been involved in another find near Lesotho of a dinosaur named Ledumahadi. Now, what does the name Ledumahadi even mean, and can you tell me more about this project?
Well, I'm like the least qualified person to answer that, being a native United States citizen, but I'll do my best. So Ledumahadi means a giant thunder, okay. And then the species name is Mafube, which means at dawn. And so the whole name is a giant thunder at dawn. And this animal was the first of the really, really big dinosaurs. I mean, this thing weighed 12 tons. So it's like the same as 2 elephants put together. And that was the dawn of the dinosaur era in South Africa and in the whole world. So the idea is that there was a giant thunderclap and this heavy monster was walking around, and that signaled the dawn of dinos.
Wow, the dawn of dinosaurs right here in South Africa. Can you believe it? Now listen, Jonah, I assume that work of this nature kind of, like you've mentioned, takes years to conclude. You said something like 5 to 10 years potentially. But when can we expect to hear some exciting updates, of course? We want to know what more you found and all the crazy things that you would expect here. So when could that happen potentially?
Well, I've got a whole lab of students sort of chomping at the bit to go here at Wits. And they're going to be hard at work over the holidays and early next year on these things. And I think you'll hear more news from us by middle of next year, and then for probably another decade after that.
So exciting. Well, Jonah, thank you so much once again for joining us in the studio this morning and sharing your find with us and what is hopefully going to be one of many, many more. And I hope you have an awesome day too, man.
Thanks for having me.
Well, look, there's still so much unearthing to do, and we wish you, of course, and your very capable team all the best.